The focus of our presentation today is on the role of digital media in older Sri Lankan migrants' religious practices in Australia. Our research looks into Sinhalese Sri Lankan migrants of Buddhist faith and their meritorious activities that are supported by digital media, mobile devices, and communication platforms. This presentation will first discuss scholarship and the theoretical frameworks we use to contextualize our ethnographic research with older Sinhalese migrants. Here we refer to our previous work on transnational family care and digital media. We will then examine ethnographic narratives from the field, presenting how older Sinhalese migrants engage with Buddhist meritorious practices and the role of digital media in producing sacred spaces. Based on ethnographic research, our discussion focuses on two kinds of alternative articulations we call aging articulations and digital articulations. By aging articulations, we mean the sense of urgency to accumulate merit, which prompts older Sinhalese to engage in alternative articulations of transnational religion as they age. By digital articulations, we mean the adoption and adaptation of digital technologies and new media as facilitators and motivators of alternative articulations of transnational religion. Finally, we reflect on how these digital articulations shape the individual, diasporic, and institutional practices of religion, driven by the alternative religious articulations of older Sinhalese adults that emerge from the social and cultural processes of aging as migrants in a foreign land. Our analysis builds on existing scholarship that explores migrant articulations of transnational religious networks and examines the role of digital media in those networks. Migration scholars have established the important supportive and spatial dimensions of transnational religious networks, including recent attention to the ways in which digital media transform those spatial elements. Religion offers important roles of connections, community, and cultural identity in both online and social spaces, as this body of scholarly research establish. The role of religion in the lives of migrants draws attention to the spatiality of religious networks. Migrants build places of worship in their local neighborhoods and use digital media to create connections to other places around the world that are significant to their faith and religious practices. The role of religion in the lives of older adults also highlights the temporal dynamics of religious practices, drawing attention to the increased desire to build a strong relationship with the next life as people approach the end of this life. This dual orientation of religious consumption is captured in religious scholar Thomas Tweed's work. While it is common for studies of new technologies to overlook older adults as active users of digital media, recent scholarship, including our own, on transnational families point out that older adults are keen to benefit from the connectedness enabled by digital media when their social and support networks are dispersed across distance. In our paper, we illustrate how the role of digital media within transnational families and migrant communities is replicated in other domains, including that of religion and spirituality. This reinforces our broader argument from previous work that digital devices create new opportunities for emotional projects and engagements to be accomplished across national borders. Rather than as a direct or simplified migratory outcome, we seek to examine religious engagements of older Sinhalese migrants as relational to a process of aging, experienced as both movement through the life course and as an emotional state of being embedded in physical, social, and cultural domains. In this slide, you can find information on our research participants. Sinhalese migrants living in Melbourne provide an ideal case study for examining the intersections of digital media and meritorious practices that facilitate the formation of alternative religious articulations. Through our ethnographic research, we found out that this is because, as Buddhists, Sinhalese migrants in later life experience an increased expectation for religious engagement. Buddhist teachings and practices demand that they accumulate merit in order to secure blessings for the afterlife. Merit, expressed in the Sinhalese term ping, means good results that are produced through good deeds, and doing religious deeds is a priority here. Merit is accumulated by consistently performing religious deeds, for example, by supporting local temples, participating in prayer, and contributing to the well being of those in need. In Sri Lanka, Buddhism is the dominant religion with 75% of ethnic Sinhalese practicing Buddhism. As a result, families, neighborhoods, and communities are organized in such a way that the accumulation of merit is a taken for granted part of everyday life and opportunities are readily accessible. Routine and occasional events such as almsgivings, fundraisers, sermons, and religious festivals enable older adults to participate easily in the accumulation of merit, contributing to a sense of a life well lived. In contrast, Australia is dominated by secular Christianity, meaning that such opportunities are harder to find. Another considerable challenge in such a context for aging Sinhalese older adults is challenges posed to mobility and movement due to age related complications. Because institutional religious spaces are not community based and dispersed, unlike in their home country, driving, travelling, and attending to collective individual religious spaces in Australia poses challenges for older Sinhalese adults. With adult children and grandchildren at work and school, and the absence of extended familial support networks in Australia, that is a feature of their home country communities, adds to challenges in accessing religious activities at institutional and community levels in Australia. Indeed, the migrant condition of older Sinhalese adults contributes to the challenges of accessing religious participation, but what we observe is the greater role that age has to play, firstly, in intensifying the need to practice religion in later life, and secondly, the barriers of mobility. We call this aging articulations. This is the sense of urgency to accumulate merit, which prompts older Sinhalese adults to engage in alternative articulations of transnational religion. These demands that aging has made to religious practices and the accumulation of merits has led to digital sacred spaces and online engagements with religion. We call these digital articulations. Here, we mean the adoption and adaptation of digital technologies and new media as facilitators and motivators of alternative articulations of transnational religion. To help explain these kinds of articulations further, we will now present three select ethnographic accounts from the field. You can find more information on these and additional narratives in our paper as well. In these accounts, we pay attention to the intersections of age and digital practices of older Sinhalese adults. Pali, a 72-year-old Sinhalese Sri Lankan migrant in Melbourne, says, "It won't do if I have to wait until I'm 80 years old. There are risks like Alzheimer's and dementia. I don't know how long I will live for. So I have the aspiration of attaining a higher status of mind through meditation." Saipali's age has created a sense of urgency for religious fulfillment. She is aware, like most of our participants, of her aging self. The possibility of declining health and challenges to mobility has made her more conscious of accumulating merit and performing religion. She uses a laptop to make bookings at Buddhist meditation retreats in Sri Lankan monasteries located in Melbourne. Bookings are highly sought after and limited and can only be made through the internet. At home, Sepali continues practicing meditation on her own using websites and YouTube videos produced by monks and temples in Sri Lanka to help her get closer to achieving her goals. For Sepali, religious consumption also means listening to sermons streamed by a Buddhist monastery in Sri Lanka, where online discussions on the sermons are facilitated through a Q&A page. With her sense of urgency to achieve a higher status of mind through meditation, Sepali follows up in her home on complex meditation practices she learned from monks at retreats using videos on YouTube. These engagements with religious activities using mobile technologies and devices simultaneously mitigate the loneliness of aging in Australia. Away from the community and kinship networks, she imagines she would be able to access if she remained living in Sri Lanka. With her children and grandchildren at work and school throughout the day in Melbourne, Sepali says she often feels lonely, even though she lives with them. She relies on digital media devices to help fill the gap. In our next ethnographic account, we look at Nihal. A 71-year-old participant, Nihal's meritorious activities are also based in his following of Indian Guru Sathya Sai Baba's teachings. Nihal and his wife prayed at a devotional song session known as Bhajan during the illness of his son. He says this made his son recover from illness. So, apart from Buddhist activities, he devotes most of his time to engaging with the Sai program. Accessing the organization's website in India from Melbourne with his PC, laptop, iPad, and tablet, Nihal listens to talks and devotional songs. He explains that the different devices enable him to consume material from different rooms in the house, depending on his mood and where he is at during a particular time of the day. About 90% of the work I do on the computer is related to searching about this faith. I'm not interested in watching other videos and things like that, says Nihal. Nihal says that he is now at an age where he is searching the spiritual way towards nirvana. The phone is essential, says Nihal, to organize spiritual journeys and pilgrimages, as well as to share devotional messages, videos, texts, and images with his sister in Sri Lanka. Since his sister also became a devotee following Nihal, their relationship in later life has transformed into a spiritual one. Using the phone, he organizes spiritual activities with his sister before going to Sri Lanka on visits. These include visits to Sai centers around the country, participating in devotional singing, charity, and prayer. Straight from the airport, we go to my sister's home. We then go off to the spiritual centers, says Nihal. A closed WhatsApp group of members from a Sai organization in Melbourne also shares similar content with Nihal, and he responds. Members of this group have also formed a vital support network and help each other in times of need. And Nihal says this care work enables them to accumulate merits. Our next ethnographic account is about Bhadra, a 76-year-old participant. She lost her first husband in Sri Lanka to a series of armed youth uprisings in 1989. Her husband was abducted and never returned. Married again after migrating to Australia, her present husband has fallen ill, impacting his mobility. Batra says that these grievances have made her turn towards religious engagements, and she listens to Buddhist sermons and songs every day on YouTube. That is why I listen to Buddhist sermons and songs now. I have many regrets in life. Now I feel very sensitive towards the needs of others. That is a good thing, she says. She is particularly attuned to her aging self and locates her engagements with religion as an activity in later life. You can't do that because you are still young, she tells me. Apart from engaging with philosophical aspects of Buddhism, Bhadra uses her mobile devices to organize donations through daily communications with family and community members in her home country. Bhadra collaborated with her brother in Sri Lanka to support the livelihood of a gardener in her home village. This included sending money to buy him tools and a bicycle, as well as a mobile phone to communicate with his clients. Bhadra conducts these meritorious deeds from a pension she receives from teaching in Sri Lanka. On one occasion, she coordinated through Viber with a friend in Sri Lanka to build a house for a family in a rural village after seeing an advertisement about the family in a Sinhalese newspaper. Another time, Bhadra donated her laptop to a Buddhist monk in a temple in Sri Lanka who was well known to her and with whom she communicated. Mobile devices and communication platforms assist Bhadra to organize remote meritorious activities such as these in her village in the home country while living in Melbourne. A final observation we would like to make is the role of diasporic associations in facilitating collective meritorious activities for older Sinhalese adults. Significantly, all of the participants are active members of Sinhalese diasporic organizations located in Melbourne. Participants have membership in 1 to 3 main associations. These associations consist 50 to 200 members and access funding from local councils, state governments, and donations for activities that lend to cultural maintenance in Australia. These include celebrating cultural events such as the Sinhalese New Year, creating gastronomic experiences, consuming media from the home country, such as maintaining television soap opera clubs, fundraising and charity work, and religious activities like almsgivings and sermons. These associations work to ensure that dispersed community members are able to access vital support networks that help members to achieve religious objectives. Gatherings of members are often held at a community center of a local council. So, associations are able to arrange carpooling and transportation for members if necessary, as well as organize a range of activities that enable the accumulation of merits. These include ticketed fundraisers, almsgivings to Buddhist monks, chanting ceremonies, celebrating the Vesak festival, devotional singings, meditation sessions, retreats, and observing Buddhist pledges. They use websites, social media, YouTube, and communication platforms to organize these larger scale meritorious activities. Phone calls on platforms such as WhatsApp and Viber enable participants to assign and divide tasks for such events. Some themes emerging from the ethnographic research is as follows. Sinhalese migrants living in Melbourne are active participants in migrant community organisations, transnational families, and migrant transnational religious networks. These are significant social, cultural, and spatial strategies that are informed by their identities as migrants. However, our analysis of the everyday religious lives of older Sinhalese migrants indicates that there is another identity that is also significant, if not often overlooked. The participants in this research helped us to understand that an equally significant identity is that of being older adults in later life. This stage in the life course brings with it a clear set of obligations to perform actions aimed at accumulating merit. The migrant identity remains significant because it is their migrant biographies that have created new challenges in accumulating merit, challenges that must be negotiated and overcome. The use of new technologies is particularly important in responding to one of the conditions of aging, the new challenges of mobility that many older adults face, as well as in responding to one of the conditions of migration, the loss of collective and institutional participation in religion that predominates in close knit communities in the home country. These technological engagements with religion address a sharpened sense of aging selfhoods and growing awareness of mortality, demonstrating how the philosophical experiences of spirituality in old age has transformed to produce emotive responses with the use of technology. Some concluding remarks that we present here are the alternative articulations of religion that we propose to draw attention to can be explained across two intersecting processes: aging articulations and digital articulations. While the migrant condition of older Sinhalese adults in this study is vital to shaping religious networks and meritorious practices in diasporic spaces, the need for accumulating merits with a sense of urgency is intensified in older age, lending to the increasing use of digital technologies and new media for practicing religion. Older Sinhalese adults' digital religious practices also create spiritual roles for non human actors, such as mobile devices, new media, and communication platforms, transcending suprahuman imaginaries of religion into digitally sacred spaces. What is significantly alternative in these articulations is that organizational and institutional religion is surpassed by the older Sinhalese adults who exert agency in response to their life stage and the opportunities created by digital media to produce their own religious networks, both interpersonal and suprapersonal or non human. Thank you for listening.